Good morning. My name is Jessica Vo. Today on Global Connections, we are going to touch bases upon different topics that are going on around the world. First, we are going to take a look at poverty with Alejandro, who's interviewing Mr. Poor in India.
Thanks, Jessica. Here we are with Mr. Poor that has traveled the world, having an investigation about poverty. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me here.
So, how many people are poor?
You actually won't believe it, but over 3 billion people live on less than $2.50 a day, and half of the children population is in poverty, which is 1 billion children are in poverty. Billion people can't even read book or sign their names. Almost 2 billion people live without electricity every single day.
Are you kidding me?
You won't believe me. You know why? Because you're Mr. Rich. You got all the money in the world. But I'm sure you don't even know how many children die every single day.
How many?
How many children? It's pretty shocking. 22,000 children die every single day because of poverty. In 2003, 10.6 million people died. And not people, but just children. 10.6 children died before they even reached their age of 5. And that's the same population in France, Germany, Greece, and Italy.
But do we not have enough to consume for everyone?
We do have it, but the richest 20% accounts for 75% of the income. And the richest also consume 75% of the world's production.
Well, thank you about all the facts. It was a pleasure to have you here because otherwise I wouldn't know about all that stuff.
Not a problem.
So, let's go back to the studio.
Thank you, Alejandro and Mr. Poor. And next off, we'll go move the discussion to Nhi Tang, who's going to discuss Europe's current economic situation.
Hello everyone. Recently, Bloomberg released that at a seminar in Tokyo on October 13, 2012, China and Japan represented their support to the Europe Rescue Fund. Deputy Governor of People's Bank of China, Yai Chen, said China would support 500 billion euro, which equals 648 billion US dollar, to European Stability Mechanism. He also declared that China will continue to collaborate with European Financial Stability Facility and support the efforts of the European Union, the European Central Bank, and the IMF as playing a minor role. And then he also expressed his suggestion to IMF meeting that policy announced in the past few months by the European Union, the Euro region, and the individual nations now need to be fully implemented to restore and rebuild confidence. On Japan's side, Vice Finance Minister of Japan, Mr. Takehiko Nakao, stated that Japan was considering to buy bonds from ESM. In addition, Koichi Toshima, who is Japan's finance minister, also pointed out that Europe should take responsibility to resolve its debt crisis and implement measures quickly. The motivation that led China and Japan to those actions is that due to the European crisis, export of China and Japan has been declined dramatically by the decrease of global demand. It caused the growth pace in 2012 of China goes down to the lowest since 1999, according to IMF. And Morgan Stanley and Bank of America Merrill Lynch predict that Japan is shrinking for 2 consecutive quarters through December. Finally, when its SM fund can be rescued, they will have more conditions to lend to the government, intervene in bond markets, offer the credit line, and provide loans to the bank. That means that the bank's finance will be built up so that businesses can be developed, people will get more jobs, and the economy will go up again. Thank you, and back to Jessica.
Thank you, Nhi. Now we're going to turn the tables to Tung Do, who's going to discuss environmental issues that occurred in Richmond about the Chevron fire.
Right over here by York. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Trong. Today, I'm 16 here to report fire at Chevron refinery in Richmond affecting air quality. Today, our issue as sustainable environment, that's the everything we need for our survival and well-being depends. Either directly or indirectly, we have to protect the environment. Nowadays, a lot of companies change their business strategy in order to adapt the environment constraint, but Chevron seems goes opposite side to the constraint. As we know, Chevron Corporation is an American multinational energy corporation headquartered in San Ramon, California. In 2001, Chevron has been sued from the Ecuadorian and Amazonian for making a pollution water along the Amazon River. Now in August 17, 2012, the accident in Chevron factory made a fire in Richmond, California that affected the air quality and people health in Richmond. Following the report of health officials in Contra Costa, they said the air should issue a level 3 warning for fire. The bloom from the fire was an estimated 3,000 to 4,000 feet above ground level. There's good enough particles in smoke and it can bypass the lungs and go into the circulatory system. People who have asthma, emphysema, and other lung conditions may find it very difficult to breathe. The California Air Resources Board tracked the largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the state. Oil refineries, power plants, and cement plants lead on industry fossil fuel that have been building up in the Earth's atmosphere, increasing concentration. To see more detail, click in www.facebook.com/globalization-SIB101. Thank you.
And now, we have a special guest here on the show, the President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez. Reporter Mitt Obama will discuss politics with the President.
Thank you, Jessica. It's a pleasure to have you, Mr. Chavez from Venezuela.
Thank you, Mitt Obama. Thanks for the invitation. I really haven't been in many American shows. They don't welcome me very nice around here.
And why do you think this happens?
Well, it's very simple. I have been talking bad of the USA and the capital system since I get on the power in Venezuela.
What do you think about Senator Romney comment on you and your close friends on Castro like being the bad guy in the world?
I wasn't shocked by his declaration because I have never been in good terms with the Federalists or the Republicans. And he can be sure if he wins the USA elections, he's going to have restrictions with our oil. Because if he say he doesn't want it, I will not give it to him.
But you're in a good term with President Obama, and he's an imperialist and capitalist too.
Terms between Obama and me are not perfect, because we have a rough beginning. But we solve our difference in La Cumbre de las Americas, to make business and help each other economies.
Can you explain us the two different scenarios for the result in U.S. election?
Of course I can. If President Obama wins, we'll still have negotiations with the United States, and you will still get in our oil. But if Senator Romney wins, we will put restrictions on the negotiations. China will be our biggest consumer, and that is because I don't support someone that talks about me and my mentor, Fidel Castro.
Okay, can you explain us how was the presidential election back there in Venezuela?
Well, it was a totally democratic process, where all registered people had the right to vote and express themselves. I know that there is a rumor that we made electoral fraud, but it's not true. The majority of Venezuelan people support our socialist process.
Well, I have one more question. That doesn't even relate to this interview, but may I ask you why you're wearing a red shirt today?
Of course I can explain you that. I'm wearing a red shirt because these represent our people, the communist people. We support that, and Viva la Revolución!
Well, that was a pleasure to have you, sir.
Well, thank you for the interview.
And back to the studio.
Thank you, guys. Finally, we're going to bring the discussion to entertainment with Lisa Tran. There is something about daredevils that keeps the world amazed. Whether it's the famous Evel Knievel from America, the famous tightrope artist Philippe Petit from France, or even the different divers around the world who took part in Red Bull's famous World Series Cliff Diving Championship, held at the Institute of Contemporary Art on the Boston Harbor. Daredevils gain fame by ultimately putting their lives on the line, often with a high degree of recklessness. Recently, a daring 43-year-old Austrian did the unthinkable. Felix Baumgartner became the first person to take a death-defying leap from the edge of space. During the leap, Baumgartner was under the instruction of the world record holder for the highest freefall, Joe Kittinger.
Put the dump valve all the way to the rear. Put the dump valve all the way to the rear. There it is. There's the world out there. Attaboy. That's good. Okay. Slide forward into the rest position. Release the helmet tie-down strap.
Baumgartner's jump was watched by 8 million people, a record for the most views during a video stream. The whole world was watching him as he was watching the world. Felix was traveling at a speed of 833 miles per hour, fast enough to break the sound barriers. The scariest part of the leap is when Baumgartner started to spin in a death spiral, which could leave him unconscious. However, he was able to get out of the spin by raising his hands. It took 3 hours for the balloon to lift the pressurized capsule to the Earth's ceiling, about 128,000 feet above ground. He was wearing a specially designed survival suit that kept his body intact against the varying pressures that marked his backdrop to Earth. Without it, his blood would have boiled and his lungs might have exploded. He successfully made it back safely on Earth, as his team and family members cheered him on. He now holds a new record. Until next time on Global Connections.